Every community has their own staple film genre. For the black community, this is the quintessential hood film. The hood film is so essential that admitting to not seeing one of these films can cause ridicule and can even result in getting your black card taken away. But watching these films, you realize they aren't spectacularly done, and they even feed into harmful stereotypes towards the black community. So, why are these films still so treasured and appreciated in the black community today? For some, it might be the hyper masculine main characters showing their grit and toughness. And sure, the violence, conflict, and gang culture attracts others. However, there was really one thing that aids these movies in making the top 10 film list for many black people, and that's the tragedy. The hood film era of black cinema came shortly after the blaxploitation film era, which included films like Shaft, Superfly, and The Black Godfather. These films were marked by action and black leads fighting against crime and oppressive systems. The hood film is quite the opposite. Instead, it is marked by partaking in crime and violence, authenticity, and stark masculinity. These topics hood films take on have sparked notoriety and heavy criticism from film critics. Andrew D. Ward, a writer in the University of British Columbia's Film Journal, debunks these critics by explaining how the hood film's purpose is misunderstood. These films shouldn't be looked at as films to empower the black community, as they don't exploit the quote unquote race card trope, and should be consequently viewed as a melodrama. He describes the breakdown of melodramas, connecting it to hood films, explaining how they use realism, characters that are victims to their surroundings, appeals to pathos, and settings of crises just like a revised melodrama would. The hood film, although never really thought of as one, is a very well an example of a melodrama. The movie Juice is no exception to this. Directed by Ernest Dickerson, starring prominent black actors such as Tupac Shakur and Omar Epps, Juice tells the story of four Harlem teenagers navigating their lives as underprivileged black males. These teenagers, no stranger to breaking the rules, become entrenched with the idea of having the juice, which is a sense of power and respect amongst their peers. The tragedy in Juice is built upon throughout the film. It begins by getting us attached to this friend group, which can be characterized by nothing less than a brotherhood, and slowly makes the viewer watch as this brotherhood gets torn apart. While all four young men want the juice, we see one friend, Bishop, take it too far. After the group's plan to rob the corner store goes wrong because of Bishop's unwarranted violence, the viewer gets their first heartbreak as we observe these juveniles start their irreversible criminal journey. Deep down, we know nothing will remain the same. Moving forward, the tragedy increases as we watch the friend group truly flip on each other. While arguing about the unnecessary murder the group committed, one friend pleaded to put an end to everything and to turn themselves in. Bishop, on the other hand, believed he finally had the juice. He took a life, he was unstoppable, and best believed the last thing he was going to do was drain his juice. The combination of fear of being incarcerated and power coursing through his veins proved to be lethal. He ultimately killed his friend and led a murderous pursuit of the rest of his group. The betrayal seen in the eyes of the murdered friend, as well as the other members of the group, pierced through the screen, cutting deeper into the viewer and therefore black community's heart. The ending sequence to the movie was possibly the most gut wrenching part. Bishop, who was dehumanized throughout the majority of the movie, or at least since he obtained his juice, was at his most vulnerable point. As his life was in the hands of the very person he was aiming to kill, we finally seen his last shred of humanity. But it was too late, and Bishop fell to his death. The complete and utter devastation of the ending of Juice leaves the viewer with something. Something that makes this movie a great example of a black cult classic. As a black viewer, you feel empathy for Tupac's portrayal of the antagonist, despite his skewed morality and violent deeds. You feel as if there was no way out except for death. It confronts the comparison of death or jail, and for a black man, death seems more appealing. Furthermore, this film, like many other hood films, shows the artistic nature of black culture by intersecting cinema with hip hop. Hip hop music is constantly playing in the background of the movie, and is even the center of the side plot of Quincy becoming a DJ. Music is so entrenched in this movie that the main character is depicted by famous rapper Tupac Shakur, who released his successful debut album just a year before the premiere of Juice. Without a doubt, hip hop is a fundamental aspect to black culture, so its inclusion is another huge appeal to the hood movie genre. However, Juice's tragic plot goes uncannily hand in hand with Tupac's devastating life story. So much so, it sparked rumors in later decades that Tupac might not have even been acting, just being his true self while depicting Bishop.
You're right. I am crazy. But you know what else? I don't give a fuck.
Although occurring after the release of Juice, and surely not an intent of the creators of the movie, the events surrounding Tupac Shakur's life are parallel to the plot of Juice. As he grew up, friends with fellow famous rapper, the Notorious B.I.G., and their famous fallout over an attempted robbery and consequential shooting follows the theme of tragedy, betrayal, pursuit of power, and eventual murder. As a viewer of Juice after all of these real life events took place, they surely add to the melodramatic experience of Juice and other hood films. Therefore, the draw to these films within the black community can be explained by their realist approach. These films, although fiction, mirror the tragic experiences in black communities and in black culture. They show solidarity throughout black people and make cinema out of real life experiences, making sure not to water down real life tragedy. In all, hood films will not make sense to all viewers. Critics that classify these films as ghetto centric and problematic truly cannot put them into the perspective of the black community. These films are made for black people to make them feel. Their entrenchment and prominence in black culture are because they pull on the things that we know our peers have had to go through. The fact that these experiences are stigmatized in general culture makes their space in black culture so much more important, and these films will forever have an impact on black life.